When you catch yourself daydreaming, what is it that you're thinking about? When you come home from work and you're frustrated and you want to give up and start all over, what is it you want to do? Well, for me, the answer to those two questions is the same. It's sailing. I want to go sailing, right? So in 2003, my wife and I had the opportunity to go with some friends of friends on a sailing trip, and we loved it. And in 2004, we got to go on another sailing trip with the same group of friends. After going with those friends, though, it turned out that we loved sailing, but we didn't necessarily love the group of people that we were sailing. And when you're sailing, you're in a very tight space with a lot of people, and there's some tense situations, so it really needs to be people that you're comfortable with. So we decided that we were going to sailing school, and we were going to get our captain's license, and we were going to learn to be captains of sailboats ourselves. So we went to sailing school in Tampa, Florida in 2005, right during the middle of Hurricane Katrina. So we learned how to sail in high winds and high seas, and we got to be pretty good sailors. So what is it that I like about sailing? So sailing is outside, duh, but I'll elaborate on that a little bit later. Sailing is challenging. Sailing is relaxing. You can go places when you're sailing. And finally, sailing is magical. So first of all, sailing is outside. I like doing things outside. I like to climb 14ers and ski, not just like sit in the Broncos bleachers and watch football, but I like to interact, with my environment. And when you're sailing, you're interacting with the waves and the wind and the spray, sometimes wildlife. It's great. So sailing is challenging. Sailing is mentally challenging because you have to learn a whole new vocabulary. You may have heard a few words around, but there's a whole vocabulary around sailing. Words like halyards and fathoms and jib sheets and all that kind of thing, right? Sailing is also mentally challenging because you have to learn how to navigate and read maps. And these aren't maps like you pull up on your iPhone. These are maps that have symbols for buoys and lighthouses and the depth of water in fathoms and coral reef markers that you have to learn to interpret to be able to keep yourself out of trouble. Sailing is also mentally challenging because on every sailing trip that I've been on, there's always been a mishap. And when you're out there in the middle of the ocean all by yourself, the only person that you can rely on is yourself. And you have to figure out how to get yourself out of trouble. And so I like that part. So far I like it because I've been successful in figuring out how to get myself out of trouble. And sailing is physically challenging. So you're hoisting up sails and pulling on ropes and hoisting anchors and tying off to buoys, and I like that part of it. Sailing is relaxing. So once you get out there and you get through all this setup and the wind is steady and your course is true, you can just sit back and relax and kind of watch the world go by at a nice, slow pace. You can see the beaches, the cliffs, other people, other sailboats, and just kind of watch things go by at a pace that you can really take it all in. And it's really awesome. And some of the sailboats even have autopilot. So basically autopilot just adjusts the rudder, makes slight adjustments to the rudder to keep you on a true course. And then you can sit back and have one of your favorite cocktails or whatever and have lunch and keep on going. So sailing, you can go places, right? You can go to different islands. Like in the Caribbean, for instance, there's lots of different countries that are islands, right? You've probably heard of the U.S. Virgin Islands. There's also the British Virgin Islands. There's also islands like St. Martin, where half is French and half is Dutch. So you can experience, just by going three or 4 miles on your sailboat, a different culture, which is really interesting. And then sailing is like magic. So the reason I say it's like magic is because the sailboats that we typically go on are about 40 feet long. They have 3 cabins, for up to 6 people. and they weigh 10 tons, so 20,000 pounds. So you're out there on something that weighs 20,000 pounds, and there's no motor or anything like that. You put up your sails, and all of a sudden, you start to move. And then you put up your sails in just the right way, and you move faster and faster until you can get to your destination in a really quick way, and that is completely silent. You know, there's no motors, there's no vibration. You're just like flying in 2 dimensions. So I really like that part of it as well. You can go places. So you can go to all different kinds of places, like beaches on uninhabited islands, right? You can go to different countries, like I mentioned. You can go all over the place. If you think about it, once you put your sailboat in the water, you can go any place in the world where the land meets the water, which is kind of interesting. So to sum it all up, if this sounds like something that you're interested in, you should make yourself the opportunity to go sailing, get a captain, and experience it for yourself.